I got a phone call from Mary Lane, as I vaguely recall, and she said, we've got a staff student committee for the introduction of peace studies, and is it something you'd be interested in doing? And with the greatest alacrity, I said yes, because it was exactly the sort of thing that International House was about. And so, as you've already heard, from there on, we went quickly to a meeting in International House in the great common room there, where, according to my recollection, it was Stuart who formally moved that a Centre for Peace and Conflict Studies be set up. Before that, there had been a bit of discussion about what it would be for and what it should be called. And I do remember somebody remarking that though we accepted that it needed to be called Peace and Conflict Studies rather than simply Peace Studies, because that showed that we're even-handed and not just peace fanatics. Though that was the case, we saw that by calling it PACS, P-A-C-S, we could get an additional blow in for peace, if you'll excuse the mixing of the metaphors. So why was it that somebody from International House was interested in participating? It was because I was a deputy director there, and I had the task as deputy director of promoting a program of activities which would promote international friendship and international understanding. And friendship and understanding not only amongst the residents of International House, but also of the wider community to the extent that it was possible. We had quite a number of very interesting activities over the years. I can remember particularly one in 1993, which we called World War III. And it involved Keith Suter giving an address on that subject, almost prophetically. Then we also had a model United Nations Security Council for the residents of International House, whereby we had a scenario in which an American guided missile had become unguided and had ended up in Outer Mongolia. So our students went off to Canberra and interviewed the staff of the various embassies there, whose countries they were representing in the Model Security Council. And the people in the embassies, of course, had a great old time with that scenario, and the students learnt a great deal. The idea of International House is perhaps best conceived from the Australian perspective as having started in New York just after the First World War, a time when there was a great interest in what might promote peace. And at that time there was a Young Men's Christian Association activist who was walking up the steps of Columbia University while a Chinese student was walking down in the opposite direction. And as you do, he said hello or good morning or whatever the word was, and the student stopped him and said, "Thank you very much for speaking to me." He said, "I've been here for weeks and you're the first person who said hello." So it was from that the idea of an International House developed, and Harry Edmonds was the chap's name. He managed to prevail on the Rockefellers to provide him with a 600-bed International House on prime real estate on Riverside Drive in New York. And subsequently there were other international houses, also Rockefeller funded, in Berkeley and in Chicago. So these were the International House roots from which International House in Sydney drew its inspiration. International House in Sydney was started as a Rotary project, And it was such a huge Rotary project and so unprecedented that it's still remembered today as being something that almost wrecked the whole Rotary movement in New South Wales. It was just so demanding. But anyway, they got the money together. It was opened in 1967 with the idea of promoting international friendship and international understanding. It continues today to pursue those objectives, and we continue today to benefit from the connection with International House in New York, because there was a lady called Davis who died only recently at more than 100 years of age, and she devoted $1 million to setting up so many peace projects in all the international houses and in some other places throughout the world, which the students could suggest and write up proposals for. And the International House University of Sydney has won one of those prizes of $10,000 in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2013 and 2014. And the students have been able to develop projects in promotion of peace, and that's something which it seems to me could usefully be helped along by CPEX.